Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a huge paradox, one that's right at the core of Apple, and it might just be sitting in the palm of your hand right now.
First things first, let's talk scale, because to get this paradox, you have to appreciate the size we're dealing with. Apple isn't just a big company. It's a $3 trillion titan. That number is just massive. And all that success? It's all built on a single, very powerful strategy.
But here's the twist. What if that greatest strength is now becoming its biggest weakness? Because that core strategy, this idea of total control, well, it's starting to cause some pretty serious headaches for them.
So let's break down this $3 trillion paradox and see how Apple's core strategy is being put to the test. And to do that, we're going to connect two things that on the surface seem totally unrelated. Apple's bumpy AI launch, and, yep, the whole blue bubble versus green bubble drama.
At the very heart of Apple's strategy is this idea of the walled garden. You've probably heard that term. It's their unwavering commitment to proprietary control. For years, this was their superpower, right? Everything just worked together seamlessly because they controlled all of it. But those walls are starting to look a little shaky.
All right, let's look at that first crack. It's an AI reality check for Apple, a real crisis of unfulfilled promises.
See, historically, Apple has played this game called the second mover strategy. They let other companies go first, make all the mistakes, and then they swoop in with a version that's just better, more polished, more integrated. It worked like a charm for the iPhone, for iPads, for AirPods. But here's the thing. AI isn't hardware. It's a completely different beast. You can't just perfect it and ship it. It needs to move fast, to learn constantly.
And you can see this clash playing out right now with Apple Intelligence. Remember the big promise? We were told we'd get these groundbreaking AI features, a Siri that could actually hold a conversation. But the reality? Well, key features were delayed or they're just missing from the launch. That improved Siri we were all excited about? There's no release date in sight. It got so bad they actually had to delete commercials for features that, well, didn't work.
It's this huge disconnect, right? Between how successful Apple wants us to think they are and how poorly and delayed things are actually going. Insiders call it a demo gap. Think about it. They talk about how amazing their AI is, but they haven't really shown the most important parts actually working. If it were ready, you know they'd be flaunting it everywhere. That silence is deafening.
And apparently, it's not just us on the outside who are noticing. There are people inside of Apple who are reportedly calling it embarrassing. When your own team feels that way, you know you've got a real problem.
Okay, let's pivot to the second half of this paradox. This is something you've probably experienced firsthand. The blue bubble wall. This isn't an accident. It's a deliberate strategic choice. So let's trace the evolution here. We started with basic SMS. Then MMS let us send photos. But in 2011, Apple did something huge. It created iMessage, this amazing, feature-rich service. And at the same time, the rest of the world was moving toward a modern standard called RCS, a standard Apple has basically refused to fully adopt.
And that one decision created the divide we all live with. You've got the blue bubbles, iPhone to iPhone, encrypted, typing indicators, high-res photos, the whole shebang. Then you have the green bubbles, which is what happens when you text an Android user. No encryption, grainy videos, and group chats that are, let's be honest, genuinely trash. And this isn't some technical glitch. It's on purpose.
And we know it's on purpose because of their own words. An Apple executive literally said that putting iMessage on Android would hurt us more than help us. Why? Because it's a huge reason people buy iPhones for their kids. It's all about locking you in. And you know what? It works. It works incredibly well. Look at this. In the US, 70% of young adults have an iPhone. That's not a coincidence. The social pressure to have a blue bubble is real, turning the iPhone from a preference into a social necessity. Okay, so let's tie it all together. A delayed AI and the color of your texts. What's the common thread? It's that one word we keep coming back to, control. This is how we connect the AI delays and the iMessage wall. It's like a double-edged sword. Look at ecosystem control. For AI, that control means they struggle with the fast, open development that AI requires. For messaging, it's an explicit lock-in tool. Or how about their privacy stance? For their own AI, it's all about privacy on your device. Great. But for messaging, privacy,
Encryption is only for other Apple users. It's a premium feature, not a universal right.
So, what are the consequences of all this control? Well, that second mover strategy that worked so well for hardware, it's failing big time in the world of AI. Their big talk about privacy starts to look a bit thin when they refuse to encrypt your text with Android users, and ultimately, it means the user experience is actively made worse for millions just to keep a competitive advantage. It's a tough look.
So, what does this all mean for Apple's future? Is it a fortress or a cage? The stakes are pretty high.
Look, let's be clear. Apple isn't going bankrupt tomorrow. They're swimming in cash. But history is littered with the cautionary tales of giants like Nokia and BlackBerry. These companies were too big to fail until they did. And it wasn't because they ran out of money. It's because they got too rigid and couldn't adapt to the next big thing.
Which leads us to the final, provocative question. Is Apple's famous walled garden a fortress that protects you, or is it a cage that just traps you? The very strategy that made them a powerhouse, the walls that created that seamless experience, might now be the very thing preventing them from leading the next tech revolution. It makes you wonder, right? Are those walls there to protect you, or just to make sure you can't leave?